Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Robin and Lindsay here, two coaches on a mission. Lindsay House, accountability coach. How are you today?
Oh, I am wonderful. How are you doing, Robin?
Doing well, thank you so much. And I'm Robin Sachs. I am a confidence coach, and Lindsay and I have been walking through the ABCs of success for 2022 this year, appropriately enough, since it's 2022. And what we've done is we've come on every couple of weeks to a LinkedIn Live and picked the next letter in the alphabet and talked about some words that start with that letter that are things that will help you be more successful, whatever that means to you in 2022. And we are already on S. This has gone by so fast.
Crazy, crazy. I was just saying to you as we jumped on, we're like heading into this holiday season. So we'll be wrapping up our alphabet and the year's going to be wrapping up. It flew.
So, and you know what? An easy place to start, because we've talked about the ABCs of success. We've talked a lot about success, and here we are on the letter S. So, why don't we jump in and start with success and the idea of what is success? And, a lot of times I think it's easy to think of success as simply the opposite of failure. You either do something or you don't. You accomplish something or you don't. You you set a goal and reach a goal, or you don't. You miss the mark. And what we would like to encourage you to do, and we'll have a little conversation about this, is really start to think about success as little. Success is this little thing where every time you check something off that list that gets you a little closer to your goal, that's success. Every time you realize you didn't do something that used to be a bad habit or used to get in your way, that's success. Success isn't always doing something. Success sometimes is not doing something you used to do that wasn't helpful. So,
Yes.
Lindsay, when we talk about success, what comes to your mind, either big or small, with success?
I just want to be like, preach, Robin, preach. I know. Loving where you're already going with this. And I think the first thing that pops into my mind is it's so individualized. And I think that that's where we get caught up too. As you're saying, some individuals feel like it's just the opposite of what, if it's not failure, then it's success. When the reality is we have to define what success looks like in our day, in our life. And we always give out homework assignments. And I feel like I know we've just jumped on, but here's your homework assignment as you exit today is I would love to see a list of what success means to you. Because even I was listening back through, I did a podcast episode with my husband, and we were kind of going back and forth bantering and what our own success looks like, because I'm very much a direction, not perfection. I like things to, I'm striving for excellence, but I'm not striving for perfection, where he's more like, I'm striving for perfect. Like our successes look different. His workout success looks like hardcore. He wants to almost be passing out by the end of it. And I want to go walk and talk with a friend for an hour and catch up with someone. That's success to me. And so as I'm saying this out loud, I want you, the listener, to be envisioning like, what does your workout success look like? What does a friendship success look like? For some of us, it's that we have an expectation that we'd like to talk to that friend once a week. And for other of us, if we keep in touch once a year, we're still good friends. Like that's success. Man, that spectrum just looks so wide. So you have to define what it looks like for you as an individual. And then to Robin's point, we have to give ourselves credit all the time because our successes are happening every day. And I think, again, a lot of us think it's this one big bang, like this, when I get to this weight, when I get to this part of my life, to that marriage, to that child, like whatever that looks like, those are, yes, they're big successes, but like we have little baby ones every day, all day. Am I missing anything on that, Robin?
No, I love what you just said, and I want to kind of make sure that this lands with our listeners, because I think it's so important, and it's something that a lot of people might go, I never thought about it that way. Or interesting, I needed to hear that because I've sort of lost sight of that. Make sure your success is your own. Make sure your success is not someone else's success.
Yeah.
That is huge. And we do that so often where we look at what other people look at as something like success. And we go, well, that's what it looks like. So that's what I'm going to strive for.
Yeah.
Make sure you're not wasting your time, wasting your energy, and wasting your money, wasting your life, wasting anything, chasing someone else's success.
Yeah.
Because like everybody, if you're looking for more time, more energy, more money, first make sure you're not giving those things away in a lot of areas where you could just take that back and have what you need. And we
Yeah.
do that when we look at someone else's success. As far as career and things like that, so often people, do I change the job because it's more money? Well, I don't know. Is it more flexible? Because sometimes your time is as important, if not more, than the money in that moment, right?
Mhm.
If I need the money, but all of a sudden I'm working twice as many hours and twice as hard, well, I don't know. Does that fit your lifestyle in that moment where you are? Some people might go, yeah, this is the time. I don't have commitments. I want to build up some money so I can do things in the future. Some people might go, you couldn't pay me enough to avoid my family and not get to ball games and never be at a concert and never be able to travel and be on call 24/7. You've got to be kidding me. So make sure that what fits your life and what you want in that moment and need is what you're making choices for. And know that that's never a permanent or final decision or choice. You can do different things. You can change a career. You can decide to do something different. You can make different choices to change your life, because at different times, I hope you do. Because if you're just on this road and you don't ever get off this road, that's where you end up with burnout. You're miserable to be around. You're miserable yourself. Your health suffers, right? All of those things. So I think of success as sort of a freeway where you have off ramps, right? You're driving down and you know the next goal, the next off ramp you want to get to, the next exit. When you get to that checkpoint, get off and kind of take some check-ins, right? And if you need to, get back on the road and get to the next checkpoint and get off and stop and ask yourself some questions. Along the way, you're going to change lanes, you're going to speed up, you're going to slow down, you might be at a stop sometimes, but you know where the next checkpoint is. And when it comes to success, have some checkpoints, know that things are going to go back and forth, but stop and go, is this still serving me? Is this still what I want, what I need? And if the answer is yes, keep doing it until the next checkpoint. If it's not, give yourself permission to say, what do I need to change then to get on a different freeway, to get into the different direction? It's okay to do that.
Yeah. And Robin, I feel like you're doing this like perfect segue into our next S, which is silence, because I feel like it takes silence and quiet to do the checkpoint. So I'm going to keep throwing it back your direction, but go into silence and how that all starts to help us assess.
Yes. So, silent. We don't have a lot of time where we aren't just surrounded by noise these days. And, sometimes that noise is outside of our head. Sometimes that noise is inside of our head with self-talk. Self-talk, of course, is another S we'll throw in the mix here, right? Your self-talk sometimes is so loud and critical and just constant that there isn't room for silence. The thing with silence is where your answers come. I mean, that's the bottom line. If I had one sentence to say or one piece of advice about silence, that's where your answers live. It's when you stop talking. It's when you quiet the self-talk a bit. It's when you remove yourself from a situation, even for a couple of minutes. Go outside, take a walk, get out of the room, out of the building, out of the house. Move, let your mind start to be silent and think. Meditation is amazing. Again, meditation isn't about just quieting everything. That's not, you don't have to put a robe on and go, sit on a mountaintop for hours and days at a time. That's not it. If you can learn to, do a 1 or 2 minute meditation, at the very least a day, go get up to 5 minutes if you can, get up to 10 minutes if you can. You don't need more unless you want to. What that starts to train your brain to do is, one, quiet down a little bit not because meditation is about being completely void of thoughts. What meditation will help you do as a busy person, as a busy thinker, is let your thoughts come in and then let your thoughts go out. That's one of the greatest things I found with meditation as a busy thinker, a constant thinker, is if the stuff comes in, thoughts come in and you just hold them, your mind gets completely bogged down. It's like hoarding in there, right? You're just hoarding thoughts and now you can't think. There's no silence. Something's always chirping, 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 chirping. There's never silence. If you learn to let your thoughts come in and then go back out, even if you have moments of silence between those thoughts, you will be amazed at how quickly you will be able to see things you weren't able to see, things you've stared at for a long time. You instantly go, oh my goodness, you know what I just realized? Those things happen in the silence. So build moments of silence into your day. Start, again, very small. You don't have to go, well, let me block a half hour out to be silent. You're never going to do that. So don't worry about it. Don't have that expectation. Don't even try it. It's not worth your time. Give yourself something doable. Find 30 seconds one day and literally stop, set your timer on your phone and just stop and see if you can let thoughts come in and thoughts go out. See if you can just get silent without thinking, as soon as I open my eyes, I better check that email. As soon as I open my eyes, I better go do this. I have to get to that meeting.
Yes.
Learn to chill for 30 seconds. Don't say you don't have the time. You're lying to yourself. And then once you do that, do a minute and then do a couple minutes and just build those couple minutes into your day. And you will be amazed at how many answers you find. It is amazing. What's your take on silence? What would you learn and know about silence, Lindsay?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go into our next S with this even because silence is, I think that's why journaling works so well for a lot of people because it's just this built-in silence and you're kind of letting the thoughts come onto paper. It doesn't have to be on paper. It can just be without paper too. But I was thinking through the S word, so like, what are we sowing into our days and our year? And if we're taking that moment of silence to assess, and as we're thinking that we're kind of coming to the end of 2022, that I really want our listeners to look back, think back through their year and what have we sown into our year that we ultimately get to reap later. So we definitely hear this, we reap what we sow. And what that really means is the sowing part is the planting. It's the what are we putting, and I'll give you real life examples with this, but like, what are we planting into our days that we can ultimately reap, which is the harvesting of? It's like, that's the success that we're talking about. When we get to reap what we've sown, we're getting to enjoy that success, that all that hard work that we've already planted. And so when I was kind of thinking back through this, and if we were using this as an exercise to say, okay, in our moment of silence, what have we sown into our days? Like if we were sowing in fitting in movement this year, we ultimately, not in the same day, maybe not even in the same month or two, but in the same year, we're getting to reap some brain benefit. We're decreasing our chances of dementia down the road. We're decreasing our chances of depression or diminishing depression. If we're sowing in actions like eating more fruits and eating more vegetables, then down the road, we get to reap their protective benefit. Those fruits and vegetables have antioxidant purposes that they save us from some cancers. They reduce our inflammation that's within our body. So it's this reaping part. If we've been stretching, if we've been under chiropractic care or physical therapy for things that have started to worry us, then we're sowing in that action of doing that. And we're reaping this benefit of our joints still working when we're 60, 70, 80, 90. We're not seeing the benefits now. And I think that that's so hard. And that's why I really wanted to highlight this word "so," because what we're trying to do is constantly do an action, a baby action, like we were talking about, that's going to turn into something that we never could have imagined down the road for us. And I'll even give you my business example right now. Like I am sewing in habits daily to make sure that enough of my business is thriving that when my girls graduate and walk out of the house, I like my job. I want to love my job. I want to like be a 90-year-old still super excited to jump on with Robin. We'll be on here still doing our thing. Yes, but because we've sewn in this commitment to each other that we do this. This is just part of our life and that we have something to come back to later. So I know that was really long-winded, and I'm going to throw the floor back over to Robin, but I definitely want all of our listeners going, what actions am I sewing into my day so that down the road I can look back and go, this is what I'm reaping from this. What do you think, Robin?
I mean, you said it perfectly, Lindsay. And I don't know who to attribute this to, but I've heard the quote or the saying, you don't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed.
Yeah.
And you have to own that. You have to understand that that's how it works. There are no shortcuts. There are no hacks. Stop with all of that and just figure out what it is you want, why, and then what are the things that you need to do today to get there at some point, and then tomorrow to get there at some point, and next week and next month and next year. And to your point, Lindsay, that's one of the hardest things to do, is especially because we have such instant gratification with so many things today that we never had before. That becomes almost, our brain expects that. Yeah. And it's really hard to sit back and go, I have no expectation right now, because I know that there isn't one. And so the only way I'm going to succeed, the only way I'm going to get where I'm going, is if I understand I'm not going to see the benefits for a long time. But I do know that if I don't do those things, I will never see those benefits. And 10 years from now, I'll look back and go, I wish I would have done that. And we say, well, it's never too late. I hate to break it to you. With some things, it is too late. You either do them or you don't. There are times that, whether it's with our career, whether it's with our health, whether it's with whatever, yeah, sometimes you needed to start a couple years ago or a few years ago, something. You don't have to be perfect, right? And to Lindsay's point, always. The goal is never perfection, but what can you do today that serves you to replace something you would have done today that doesn't serve you? That's it. That's it. Every time you do that, every day you do that, you're going to reap a benefit down the line. And one day you're going to look back. I want you to look back, everyone, in 10 years and go, I'm really glad I did those little things, because that changes where I am today. And I'm looking at everyone else that I know, and they're not there. And it's not that I'm better. It's not that I worked harder. It's that I took some time to go, what are the little things that are going to make big things happen at some point? Yeah. And I chose to stick with those. And it's a commitment to yourself. It's not a commitment to anyone else. You have got to make that commitment to yourself. And it's not easy, but it's necessary. And what you do today, if you get in the habit of having less expectation and just taking the action, knowing there's a reason you're doing it, you will be pleasantly surprised more often than not down the line.
Again, preach.
Plant seeds. Just plant seeds.
Plant seeds.
That's all your job is. Plant seeds. That's literally your job. If you plant seeds, you water them a little, give them a tiny bit of sunshine, they will always bloom. But you've got to plant the seeds, water and sun a little bit. That's it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, so good. Yes.
So you know what, Lindsay, I'm gonna throw. There's actually a couple here I think that go together, and this may take us to the end here because there's a lot that we can put into this. You know, with everything we're talking about, what gets in the way as we're talking? I'm thinking, what gets in the way of our silence? What gets in the way of our success? What gets in the way of sowing things and making that commitment to ourselves? And the answer to all of them is us. Yeah. We self-sabotage more than anyone else gets. We get in our own way more than anyone or anything else gets in our own way. And the biggest challenge with that is, again, you need some self-awareness. It's so much easier for our eyeballs to look out and say, he's doing this, which is why I can't do that. She keeps saying this, which is why I can't do that. My situation is this, which is why it's not going to happen. It's easy to look outside of ourselves and find reasons why we think things are putting up barriers and roadblocks. However, 80% of the time, I'm going to throw that out here. I'm not going to say 100% of the time because that would be unrealistic. There's stuff that gets in our way outside of our own selves. However, I'm going to throw 80% out there. 80% of the time, the reason we are not able to go from A to B or C to D or E to F has to do with us doing or not doing things. We are self-sabotaging. And I am going to go in a stress direction here, in a self-talk direction. But Lindsay, first, I'm anxious to see where you take self-sabotage.
Oh, I'm going to go deep on this one. And it actually like extends out past my true, I'm going to say education, because I really feel like this is therapy. And if anyone has never tried therapy, this would be an area, like if you hear yourself constantly saying, I'm self-sabotaging, there are these onion layers or these layers that need peeled back because it is happening for some reason. And I'll try to keep this brief, but I am going to go a little deep with it. It's called our schemas, and our schemas, there's like 18 different schemas. There are core beliefs, and there's these core beliefs that we have about ourselves that have been built in since childhood. Environmental, it can be parent, it's everything that we're surrounded by. And just, I'll give you an example of a core belief. One of them would look like failure. If you've had this built-in core belief that you have failed, that you are expected to fail, that you will always fail, that self-sabotage word could be coming in because there is some core belief of failure built into you that you've never unpacked, that you've never been able to release before, that you are self-sabotaging because you're starting to see success somewhere around the corner and it doesn't align with your schema, with your core belief that you fail. And then one would go, then what do I do about it? Like, this is like, oh my goodness. Again, therapy sessions worth of, that's not a quick answer, but the starting point of how we start to get around self-sabotage or our core beliefs is we have to acknowledge that we even know they exist. And then once we know that they exist, and then we can start working around them. So that's super deep, but I wanted to go that direction with you because, again, like I feel like sometimes a barrier is we've never even thought to go the therapy route, that we've always been like, I'm just going to work out harder and I'm just going to eat healthier, reduce the calories, work out harder, like whatever your brain goes to, but you've never been willing to go, hang on, what if it's a brain game for me right now? And I'm not capable. Most of us need that external person to look at us and to hear us and say, have you ever considered? And then it starts this whole unpacking. So I know that can be scary, but that's definitely my gentle encouragement, is to consider some good old therapy.
Thank you for bringing that into the mix. And again, definitely, if that's something that you just went, that's interesting, go at the very least, educate yourself on schemas. You would be amazed at how many beliefs you may have that have no basis. Yeah. Literally in reality, it's stuff, sometimes it's stuff that, again, and unfortunately and environmentally, people in our lives have really drilled into us for a long time. Sometimes because of their insecurities and issues, and it has nothing to do with you, which is the interesting thing. When you start to unpack some things, you sometimes see that and find that. Sometimes, someone said something to you once and then you latched onto that and you've said it to yourself for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But again, where did that come from? And taking what you said, Lindsay, I'm going to add a couple of little things to it also, that because that is so important. And there are also kind of some surface things that we do to ourselves every day that are little things we don't even realize we're doing, that with a little shift, you can really have a big impact on whether you're self-sabotaging or not, whether you're your biggest critic or you're your biggest supporter, right? Whether you're a bully in your head or whether you're a coach and a trusted advisor in your head. Yeah. Sometimes that has to do with those thoughts and that self-talk, because, kind of coming off, Lindsay, of what you were talking about, You don't have to believe everything you think. You don't. If you're thinking something, if there is a belief system that you realize, oh my goodness, I'm aware now that this belief system is there, begin to question it. Again, at the very least, and going to find somebody that you can talk to, whether it is a therapist at any level, a counselor, a coach, someone outside of you can help you point these things out or figure these things out often a lot quicker than we can ourselves. But that awareness is key. That, I think that, but I've never asked myself, is that true? And sometimes simply thinking something and go, boy, I'm really bad at that. I say that to myself about something all the time, but have you ever stopped and said, well, is that true?
Right.
Or is that valid? And if it is, you're in control and you can decide, is there something I want to do to get better at that then? You're in total control of that once you're aware, once you know what's going on. If it's not true, you're allowed to talk to yourself with that self-talk differently. And you're allowed to say, whoa, so that's not true. So I don't have to believe, because let me check my data. Has that ever happened? No. Has the opposite ever happened? Yes, several times.
Mm-hmm.
And you can begin to kind of realize, is it true or not? So I would invite and encourage you, as you're starting to think about your thoughts and self-sabotage, just because of this little conversation, maybe, I want you to start just questioning with one question. When you have a thought that you go, wow, that might be self-sabotage, or that's what I believe about myself that is not helping me. Stop and sit back, take a breath and go, is that true? And be honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. What's your data? When has that happened? When has it not? I have a friend who I've worked with in a coaching capacity, and then we became friends, that, her entire life, she was afraid of being wrong. And so she would question everything. She needed everybody's, what do you think? What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? And it was constant about things that I don't want to belittle any thoughts she had or belief system she had, but it got to a point where it was the littlest everyday stuff. And at some point it's like, okay, this is a problem. Mm-hmm. You're right. Am I wronging about things that you can't be right or wrong about? Right. And if you just turn it around and say, well, what do you think based on what you're telling me? She'd instantly go, well, I think that's okay. You're right. Then why the need to question? And going back, of course, she found that there was someone in her life who was always questioning her. And it literally got to the point where she thought, I'm afraid to be wrong. So I've stopped making decisions. And as she grew into adulthood, you got to make some decisions. And that became a difficulty. And so it was something that a single thought that just pervaded every choice, every decision, and took over, completely self-sabotaged. And it's once she got beyond that and worked to get past that and worked to start questioning, well, can I be wrong with that? Well, no. Then what am I worried about? Yeah. Just stop and make a choice. Or what if I'm wrong? Then I go do something different. Like none of it was fatal. And once she kind of started working through that, going, this is unnecessary and it's getting in my way. And I'm going to start just asking, is this valid or not? Can I be wrong? Who cares if I'm wrong? Does it matter? And when the more the answer was no, the more data she had that she could just go make choices and decisions. And all of a sudden, several things in her life took off immediately, simply because she was no longer self-sabotaging with one question that she always asked herself. So, those are the things to kind of think about. And don't think of this as bad. Don't think of it as self-sabotage is something that is, oh, I'm doing it. I'm bad. I'm no good. This is horrible. Why do I do this? Don't worry about that. Realize that you are in a lot of control. You are always in control of questioning yourself in a very powerful and simple way. Is it true? And if you're not doing that, I would encourage you to do that, because if you don't, that's what generates a lot of stress in our lives, because we typically create a great deal of our own stress, which is another great S. And stress, I could talk about for days. So I'm going to throw it right back to you, Lindsay, and see if there's anything you have to add there as we start to kind of wrap things up today with S.
Yes, no, I feel like you did that perfectly. I just ghosted you for a minute there. I have no idea why I just
I didn't take it personally. It's okay.
Okay. Apparently this Halloween thing around the corner. So no, I actually just want to take our last minute here and just summarize that if you walk away with nothing else, that you write out your successes and what that looks like in your life so that you know what you're fighting for, so that your direction is straight. Because if we don't know what we are fighting for, then we're all over the place. So there's your next S. Stay straight on your path and know what you're fighting for. And thank you, Robin, for again always initiating and making this happen, because my hope to everyone listening is that they dive in, they listen, they take notes, they jump out, implement, hit the repeat button. This is where those successes start to happen. So
fantastic. Great. Lindsay, a pleasure as always. And Lindsay, if anyone wants to reach out to you directly, what's the best way to do that?
Yes, healthaccountabilitycoach.com. And I will tell you right now that I started a public Facebook group that you can ask to join. And we carry these types of conversations over into there so that if you want to hear what other people have to say, I do that with my podcast too. And that's really the best place. And then my podcast is Direction, Not Perfection. What about you, Robin?
Nice. You know what? A great place to reach out, connect with me, follow whatever you need is on LinkedIn. I am there regularly, also sharing tips, tools, things like that all the time there. So if that's helpful, feel free. Also, my website, robinjsachs.com. A lot of free videos, free articles, and ways that you can figure out how to reach out to me if you're looking for a coach like me, if you're looking for a speaker like me. All of that info is on there. And if I can add value, I would love to have a conversation. So, yay. All right. We're on RST. We're on T next time. So I will see you in, I think, a week, Lindsay. And we'll share some more goodies with you.
All right. Sounds good.
Have an awesome week, everyone. Here's to your success.
Cheers.
Cheers.